The story opens in the glittering heart of the city, where the elite mingle in their exclusive clubs and high-rise penthouses. Adnan, a strikingly handsome but notoriously arrogant young businessman, is the center of attention at one such gathering. Dressed in a tailored suit and exuding confidence, he laughs heartily at a joke, not noticing the curious glances of the people around him. Adnan has built his reputation not just on wealth, but on the audacity of his actions. Among his friends, he is known as someone who never backs down from a challenge, no matter how outrageous. At this particular party, the conversation turns to marriage, relationships, and social climbing. Adnan boasts about his charm, claiming he could make any woman fall for him, given enough time. His friends, sensing an opportunity to challenge him, tease him about his overconfidence. They suggest that words are cheap and propose a bet. He must marry a woman within a month just to prove his power and influence. The idea is scandalous yet thrilling, and the room bursts into laughter and murmurs. Some see it as a harmless dare. Others, as a reckless move that could ruin him socially. Enter Sarah. She is not like the typical women Adnan's circle knows. With her understated elegance, sharp eyes, and calm demeanor, she listens to the conversation with a faint smile. Unlike the others who are swept up in Adnan's charm, she seems unimpressed. Sarah has always valued her independence and intellect, and she recognizes arrogance when she sees it. When Adnan's friends jokingly suggest he should try winning Sarah over for the bet, the room goes silent, and all eyes turn toward her. It is in this charged silence that Sarah speaks for the first time. She will agree to the bet, but only if certain conditions are met. Her conditions are subtle but firm. She will not be controlled, humiliated, or treated as a mere pawn. This immediately shocks everyone, including Adnan, who is accustomed to women bending to his will. For the first time, he encounters resistance, and it intrigues him. The stakes of the bet suddenly feel higher than a simple wager. They carry a personal challenge that his ego cannot ignore. Sarah's calm confidence and apparent control over the situation disrupt the typical dynamics of Adnan's world, where he is used to being the dominant force. This first part of the story establishes the key characters and sets the tone for the narrative. Adnan is introduced as charming yet arrogant, someone who thrives on risk and social games. Sarah, by contrast, is independent, intelligent, and composed, representing a challenge that Adnan has never faced before. Their contrasting personalities are highlighted immediately, laying the groundwork for conflict, tension, and eventual transformation. The social environment, a party filled with whispers, laughter, and veiled judgments, serves as the perfect backdrop. It emphasizes the superficiality of Adnan's world and the high stakes of the bet. The narrative also hints at the power dynamics that will dominate the story: ego versus intellect, arrogance versus composure, and superficial charm versus genuine substance. Following the electrifying events of the bet, the story shifts to the days leading up to the engagement. Adnan, energized by the challenge and convinced he can win Sarah over, begins planning a proposal that will impress not only her, but the entire social circle that is watching. True to his nature, he wants it to be dramatic, lavish, and unforgettable, a spectacle that reinforces his status as a man who gets whatever he desires. Sarah, however, remains calm and distant, carefully observing Adnan's behavior and the motives behind it. Unlike the other women in his life, she is not swayed by wealth, charm, or theatrics. She has agreed to the bet, but only on her own terms. She is a woman who values dignity, intelligence, and control over appearances. This sets the stage for a confrontation of egos and wills that will shock everyone around them. The proposal takes place at a grand gala, a night meant to dazzle the city's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast shimmering reflections on the marble floors, and the room is filled with elegantly dressed guests murmuring in anticipation. Adnan orchestrates every detail with precision, hiring musicians, arranging exotic flowers, and even scripting a small speech to deliver in front of the assembled crowd. He imagines the applause, the admiration, and the inevitable admiration of Sarah herself. When the moment comes, Adnan steps forward, exuding confidence and charm. He presents a ring, kneels, and announces his love for Sarah. The room gasps in expectation. But Sarah, poised and unflappable, surprises everyone. She pauses, meeting his gaze steadily, and responds with a calm yet firm statement. She will not be won by spectacle alone. She will agree to the engagement only if her conditions are respected, conditions that ensure her independence, dignity, and equality in the relationship. This response shocks not only Adnan, but the entire social circle. They had expected a simple acceptance or, at worst, polite refusal. Instead, Sarah flips the script. She does not reject him outright, nor does she accept blindly. She asserts her agency. Adnan, accustomed to admiration and compliance, experiences his first real challenge. For the first time, someone refuses to be dazzled by his status or arrogance. The tension between them electrifies the room. Guests whisper and exchange glances, some impressed by Sarah's confidence, others intrigued by the confrontation unfolding before them. Adnan's ego is bruised, but a spark of fascination ignites within him. He realizes that winning this bet is no longer about charm or theatrics. It requires strategy, patience, and respect for someone who refuses to be manipulated. Following the proposal, the story delves into their private conversations. Sarah explains her conditions in detail, emphasizing that marriage is not a game, and she will not allow herself to be treated as a pawn in anyone's bet. Adnan, though initially frustrated, begins to recognize her intelligence and strength. A subtle shift occurs. His challenge transforms from a superficial wager to a deeper engagement with someone who might actually change him. This part of the story solidifies the main themes: power, ego, and respect. It introduces the idea that relationships are not won through superficiality or manipulation, but through understanding, integrity, and mutual respect. Sarah's refusal to be merely a prize sets the stage for the dramatic tension and shocks that will define the rest of the story. The wedding day arrives, and the city is buzzing with anticipation. Invitations have been sent to the elite, journalists, and socialites, all eager to witness the union that began as a scandalous bet. Lavish decorations transform the venue into a palace of opulence. Towering floral arrangements, crystal chandeliers, golden accents, and a grand red carpet leading to the altar. Cameras flash incessantly as reporters speculate on whether this marriage will be a true union or merely a spectacle born of arrogance. Adnan, as expected, is in his element. Dressed in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, he exudes confidence and charm, fully aware of the eyes upon him. In his mind, the wedding is the pinnacle of his victory, a culmination of the bet that will cement his status among his peers. He anticipates the admiration, the applause, and the whispered envy of those who always measure his successes. Sarah, by contrast, approaches the day with composed dignity. Her gown is elegant but understated, symbolizing her independence and refusal to be overshadowed. As she walks down the aisle, there is a quiet power in her presence that immediately commands respect. Unlike the other women in Adnan's social circles, she does not seek approval or admiration. Her focus is on maintaining control of herself and the narrative of her life. The ceremony is a spectacle, blending tradition with the grandeur expected of Adnan's social standing. Vows are exchanged with the cameras capturing every moment, and the guests murmur at the seemingly perfect union. But beneath the surface, tension simmers. Sarah's calm demeanor contrasts sharply with Adnan's performative confidence, creating an undercurrent of unease. It becomes clear to everyone present that Sarah is not a passive participant. She is a force who will not be easily subdued or impressed. During the reception, Adnan's friends attempt to celebrate his victory, but their cheers are tinged with uncertainty. Sarah, with quiet intelligence, navigates conversations and interactions with grace, subtly asserting her influence over the room. She compliments the right people, makes insightful observations, and demonstrates a social acumen that shocks everyone, including Adnan. For the first time, he feels the thrill of being genuinely challenged rather than celebrated for his wealth or charm. A small incident occurs when a guest tries to make a joke at Sarah's expense, assuming she is just a trophy bride. With a composed smile and sharp wit, Sarah turns the situation around, leaving the room impressed and Adnan momentarily speechless. It is a subtle yet significant shock, signaling that Sarah is not the naive or compliant partner he expected. She has already begun to rewrite the rules of their relationship in small but powerful ways. This first wedding shock sets the tone for the conflicts and developments to come. Adnan realizes that the bet is far more complex than he imagined. He is not simply marrying a woman to prove a point. He is engaging with someone whose intelligence, confidence, and independence challenge him on every level. The wedding, meant as a display of his triumph, instead becomes a revelation. Sarah is a partner unlike any he has encountered, and she will not be won by spectacle alone. The honeymoon period is brief, and soon Adnan and Sarah find themselves moving into Adnan's sprawling mansion, a symbol of his wealth, power, and meticulously curated social status. The house itself is a labyrinth of marble floors, grand staircases, and opulent decor, designed to impress anyone who steps inside. For Adnan, it represents everything he has achieved and the life he believes he controls. Yet as he steps through the threshold with Sarah, he begins to sense that this is no ordinary marriage and that the real challenge has only just begun. Sarah approaches the mansion not with awe, but with purpose. She observes every detail, the way the furniture dominates space, the portraits that project Adnan's ego, and the carefully arranged symbols of wealth. While Adnan expects her to be impressed, she quietly asserts her independence, refusing to be intimidated or dazzled by material luxury. From the start, she establishes subtle boundaries. Certain rooms are off-limits to guests. Certain social events are postponed, and she insists on routines and principles that reflect her values. The early days are a study in contrasts. Adnan, used to having control over every aspect of his life, assumes that his wife will eventually fall into the mold he has prepared. He schedules social visits, directs household staff, and tries to demonstrate his dominance in small, seemingly harmless ways. Sarah, however, navigates these moves with calm intelligence, responding to his assertions not with submission but with quiet resistance and strategic compromise. For example, when Adnan insists on hosting a high-profile party immediately, she counters with a plan for a more meaningful event that subtly showcases her organizational and social skills, leaving him both impressed and slightly unsettled. The first small shocks occur in private moments. Sarah refuses to allow Adnan to dismiss her opinions or marginalize her decisions. She questions his assumptions, challenges his perspectives, and insists on being an active participant in decisions, both domestic and social. Adnan begins to notice that he cannot dominate her with charm, wealth, or threats of influence. For the first time, someone matches his intelligence, and it both frustrates and fascinates him. Sarah's independence is further highlighted when she begins making small but deliberate changes in the household. She hires staff she trusts, reorganizes spaces for functionality rather than extravagance, and introduces routines that reflect her sense of order and morality. Each change is subtle but significant, and each challenge to Adnan's authority leaves him quietly shocked. He begins to realize that this marriage is not a game he can control, and that the bet he boasted about is far more complex than he imagined. At the same time, Sarah demonstrates empathy, kindness, and an understanding of people that Adnan rarely appreciates. She interacts with the household staff respectfully, notices nuances in social situations, and approaches conflicts with a thoughtful and strategic mindset. Adnan is forced to confront his own arrogance and the superficiality of his world. Her presence in the mansion becomes a mirror reflecting not only her strength, but also his vulnerabilities, biases, and untested humility. As the days turn into weeks, Adnan begins to see that Sarah is far more than the calm, composed partner he initially underestimated. The mansion, once a stage for his ego, becomes the backdrop for a revelation. Sarah possesses talents, intelligence, and skills that challenge him on every level. It is in this phase that the first real shock to Adnan's pride begins to take shape, one that will profoundly alter their relationship. The first hint of Sarah's hidden abilities comes in the realm of business. Adnan, a shrewd businessman himself, is surprised when Sarah takes an interest in his company. At first, he assumes it is idle curiosity or a superficial attempt to impress him. However, she begins analyzing reports, asking pointed questions, and offering suggestions that are not only insightful but practical. When she proposes a strategic change to a faltering project, Adnan initially dismisses it, thinking his own experience far outweighs hers. Yet within days, her recommendations yield results, boosting profits and streamlining operations. This success shocks Adnan and forces him to reconsider his assumptions about her. Sarah's talents extend beyond business. She is socially astute, able to navigate the complex web of high society with subtle grace and intelligence. During a charity gala, she identifies a potential investor who had previously snubbed Adnan and engages them in a manner so compelling that the investor not only agrees to participate in his project, but publicly praises Sarah's insights. Adnan watches, both proud and humbled, realizing that the woman he thought he won in a bet is a force of her own making. Her intelligence is paired with an uncanny ability to read people. Sarah can anticipate reactions, uncover motives, and subtly influence outcomes without ever appearing manipulative. For instance, when a rival attempts to create conflict between Adnan and his associates, Sarah intervenes tactfully, diffusing tension while simultaneously strengthening Adnan's relationships. Each move she makes leaves him increasingly astonished. The realization hits him repeatedly. This is not a woman who can be controlled or underestimated. Even in the personal sphere, Sarah surprises Adnan. She is resourceful, decisive, and confident in her opinions, unafraid to confront his arrogance when necessary. She challenges his assumptions, questions his impulsive decisions, and forces him to think deeply about his behavior. Small victories, like persuading him to reconsider a lavish but wasteful expenditure or mediating disputes among staff, accumulate into a profound sense of admiration and discomfort for Adnan. He is beginning to recognize that he cannot rely solely on charm or dominance to win her. Loyalty, perhaps the most shocking revelation, comes in Sarah's resilience. When a minor crisis threatens Adnan's reputation, a legal dispute with a former associate, Sarah steps in decisively. She negotiates with tact, investigates thoroughly, and uncovers a solution that protects Adnan's interests while maintaining her own moral compass. Watching her in action, Adnan experiences a mix of awe, respect, and the first real pangs of humility. He realizes that Sarah is not just a partner. She is a catalyst for transformation in his life. By now, Adnan and Sarah have settled into life together, but the early harmony is giving way to tension. Their contrasting personalities, Adnan's arrogance and impulsiveness versus Sarah's composure and strategic thinking, begin to spark conflicts that neither can ignore. What began as a game of ego has evolved into a genuine battle of wills, and the mansion, once a symbol of Adnan's dominance, now serves as a stage for subtle confrontations, emotional shocks, and tests of character. The first signs of the clash appear in daily life. Adnan, used to immediate obedience and unquestioned authority, is frustrated when Sarah asserts her preferences, makes independent decisions, or challenges his assumptions. For instance, when Adnan hastily schedules a high-profile business event without considering its impact, Sarah calmly explains why his plan could backfire, offering an alternative strategy. Adnan initially reacts with irritation, unable to accept being questioned, but he slowly realizes that Sarah's insights are consistently accurate. This realization irritates him almost as much as it impresses him. Their disagreements escalate during interactions with friends and family. Adnan's social circle, accustomed to his control over situations, is stunned by Sarah's forthrightness and poise. She does not shy away from speaking her mind, whether it involves correcting a business associate, challenging Adnan's boastful claims, or subtly criticizing a frivolous social custom. Each intervention earns her respect from others, but it also stings Adnan's pride. He begins to understand that his wife is not merely a participant in his world, she is reshaping it in ways he cannot fully control. The tension reaches a dramatic peak when a major business negotiation threatens Adnan's reputation. He initially attempts to manage it on his own, relying on his charm and influence, but Sarah intervenes decisively. Her approach is methodical, clever, and ethical, exposing hidden threats and negotiating a solution that protects Adnan while enhancing her credibility. Watching her operate, Adnan experiences a mixture of awe, frustration, and growing respect. He realizes that winning arguments, asserting control, or flaunting status are no longer sufficient in the face of Sarah's intelligence and strategic thinking. At the same time, the emotional dimension of their clash becomes more pronounced. Adnan is forced to confront his vulnerabilities, ego, and insecurities, qualities he rarely acknowledges even to himself. Sarah's calm challenges provoke self-reflection, making him question not only his behavior toward her but also the superficial values he has long embraced. For the first time, Adnan feels the sting of humility, the discomfort of being truly matched by another person, and the thrill of being intellectually and emotionally tested. Despite the friction, there are moments of connection that hint at the growing depth of their bond. During a private conversation, Sarah gently challenges Adnan about his motivations for the bet, questioning whether he truly understands the meaning of love, respect, and partnership. Adnan, unaccustomed to vulnerability, struggles to respond, yet he begins to appreciate that Sarah's confrontations are not attacks. They are opportunities for growth. Slowly, the dynamics of their marriage shift. The clash of wills is no longer destructive, but a mechanism for mutual transformation. The tensions between Adnan and Sarah, building over weeks of subtle confrontations and intellectual sparring, reach a dramatic climax in Part 7. This is the point in the story where the bet that brought them together is no longer just a superficial game. It becomes a catalyst for profound personal and emotional transformation, shocking not only Adnan, but everyone around them. It begins with an incident that threatens to destabilize both Adnan's social standing and his ego. A powerful business rival, envious of Adnan's success and aware of his recent social embarrassment over the bet, orchestrates a scheme to humiliate him publicly. Rumors spread, miscommunications escalate, and Adnan feels cornered. For the first time in his life, his usual confidence and control are insufficient. Panic and frustration threaten to dominate his usually polished demeanor. Sarah, ever composed, intervenes with a calm authority that leaves Adnan momentarily speechless. She systematically analyzes the situation, identifies the root cause of the threat, and implements a solution that not only neutralizes the rival's plans, but strengthens Adnan's position. Her actions are precise, calculated, and executed with a moral clarity that surprises him. Adnan watches as she orchestrates interactions, resolves conflicts, and even publicly addresses misinformed allies, all without seeking personal glory. It is during this period that Sarah reveals a truth that shocks Adnan on a deeply personal level. She knew about the bet from the very beginning. Her acceptance of the wager was never naive compliance. It was a strategic choice to observe, challenge, and ultimately teach him lessons in humility, respect, and partnership. The revelation strikes Adnan like a lightning bolt. Every assumption he had made, that he controlled the game, that Sarah was merely playing along, crumbles instantly. He is confronted with the realization that, from the very start, Sarah has been several steps ahead of him. This turning point forces Adnan to confront himself in ways he never anticipated. His ego, which had been his greatest strength, now feels fragile. His arrogance clashes with the undeniable respect he feels for Sarah's intelligence, foresight, and moral compass. He experiences vulnerability for the first time, grappling with emotions he does not yet fully understand: admiration, gratitude, humility, and a dawning recognition of love that is real and reciprocal. Simultaneously, Sarah's revelation reshapes the social dynamics around them. Friends, family, and associates who once whispered about the bet are stunned to learn of her insight and control. The narrative shifts in public perception. What was initially seen as a scandal becomes a story of strategic brilliance, intelligence, and emotional maturity. Sarah's reputation soars and Adnan's respect and emotional investment deepen, signaling a profound transformation in both characters. The turning point also introduces a new tension. How will Adnan respond to this shocking revelation? Will he remain arrogant, attempting to regain control, or will he embrace the lessons Sarah has been imparting all along? His internal struggle becomes central to the narrative, setting the stage for emotional reconciliation, deepening love, and the eventual resolution of the story's conflicts. The story reaches its most intense emotional and dramatic point in Part 8. Adnan and Sarah's relationship, already tested by the bet, clashes of will, and revelations of hidden talents, now faces a crisis that threatens not only their marriage, but Adnan's entire world. This is the moment where stakes are highest, emotions run deep, and the true measure of Sarah's influence and Adnan's transformation is revealed. The crisis begins with a scandal that hits Adnan's business empire. A major investor publicly accuses him of unethical practices, spreading rumors that threaten both his financial stability and social standing. Competitors capitalize on the situation, while members of his social circle whisper judgment and speculation. Adnan, initially reactive and defensive, tries to handle the situation with his usual charm and bravado, but it quickly becomes clear that this is beyond superficial damage control. His reputation, carefully built over years, is on the line. Sarah immediately steps in, not with panic or confrontation, but with calculated calm. She investigates the source of the rumors, analyzes documentation, and identifies the real culprits, people who sought to exploit Adnan's arrogance and the notoriety of the bet for their own gain. She formulates a plan to protect the company and Adnan's reputation, combining legal action, strategic public statements, and private negotiations. Each step she takes is precise, thoughtful, and executed with moral clarity, demonstrating her capacity to navigate crises with skill that surpasses Adnan's expectations. Throughout the crisis, Adnan experiences a profound internal shock. He has always seen himself as the problem solver, the man in control of every situation. Yet here, Sarah is leading the solution, and his attempts to intervene often result in her gently correcting or redirecting him. He realizes that his ego, which once fueled his confidence, is now being tempered by humility. The shock is not just that Sarah is capable, he has already seen her brilliance, but that he must fully trust and rely on her. For the first time, his pride is challenged by love and respect in equal measure. Meanwhile, Sarah's strategic interventions also reveal another layer of her character, her empathy and integrity. She does not humiliate the wrongdoers publicly. Instead, she exposes the truth in a way that maintains dignity for all parties while ensuring justice. This approach shocks Adnan further, reinforcing that Sarah's brilliance is matched by moral strength. It is a lesson in leadership, ethics, and the power of quiet influence, a lesson that Adnan internalizes deeply as he witnesses the outcome of her actions. As the crisis resolves, Adnan begins to reflect on how much he has underestimated Sarah. He realizes that what started as a bet has evolved into a genuine partnership. She is not just his wife, but a mentor, guide, and equal in every sense. The scandal, which could have destroyed his reputation, instead cements Sarah's role as the stabilizing and transformative force in his life. Friends, family, and colleagues are shocked to see Adnan not only surviving the crisis, but emerging stronger and more grounded, thanks to Sarah's intervention. Following the intense crisis that tested both their marriage and their individual strengths, Part 9 focuses on reconciliation, emotional growth, and the deepening of trust and love between Adnan and Sarah. The tumult of the previous events, battles of ego, revelations of hidden talents, and the business scandal, has left both characters profoundly changed. Now comes the phase where their mutual respect transforms into genuine emotional connection. Adnan begins to reflect on the months since the bet. What started as a reckless wager designed to prove his charm and dominance has evolved into a journey of self-discovery. He recognizes that he underestimated Sarah at every turn. Her intelligence, strategic thinking, moral integrity, and unwavering independence. The turning point is not simply acknowledging her talents, but accepting that she is his equal and perhaps his superior in many ways. This realization humbles him, leaving him emotionally vulnerable for the first time in his life. Sarah, for her part, has observed Adnan's evolution with careful attention. She sees the cracks in his arrogance, the moments when he seeks her counsel sincerely, and the subtle ways he begins to adjust his behavior. While she remains confident and assertive, she also recognizes the sincerity of his transformation. Her love is no longer purely strategic. It grows organically, fueled by his willingness to learn, listen, and respect her fully. Their reconciliation begins with a private, heartfelt conversation in the quiet of the mansion's garden. The night is calm, stars reflected in the fountain's gentle ripples. Adnan expresses genuine remorse for his initial motivations, the bet, his arrogance, and his attempts to control her. He admits that he is not the man he thought he was, nor the man he wishes to be without her influence. Sarah listens, allowing him to speak fully, but she does not immediately absolve him. She challenges him further, probing the sincerity of his intentions and whether he truly understands the meaning of partnership. This conversation is both emotional and transformative. Adnan, for the first time, engages in deep self-reflection. He confronts the aspects of his ego and privilege that shaped his early behavior and recognizes that Sarah's presence has fundamentally altered him. The realization is shocking to him. The bet that he thought was a trivial game has actually guided him toward personal growth, humility, and emotional maturity. Sarah, in turn, acknowledges Adnan's efforts and growth, but also sets clear expectations for the future. She emphasizes that true respect and partnership must be ongoing, requiring communication, honesty, and equal contribution from both sides. Her acceptance is not blind. It is thoughtful, deliberate, and based on trust earned through months of observation and challenge. This part of the story highlights the shift from superficial attraction and conflict to genuine emotional intimacy. Their relationship is now characterized by equality, mutual respect, and shared purpose. Adnan begins to appreciate Sarah not just as a partner who challenges him, but as someone who complements and elevates his life. Sarah's respect for him grows as she sees his sincere effort to evolve, showing that love and admiration are reciprocal and earned. The final part of the story delivers the ultimate revelations and resolves the arcs of both Adnan and Sarah. By this stage, the bet that once sparked curiosity and scandal has been transformed into a profound journey of personal growth, mutual respect, and genuine love. The conclusion provides not only a resolution to the plot, but also a final, shocking twist that leaves both the characters and the audience astonished. The story opens with Adnan and Sarah preparing to host a major philanthropic gala, an event that symbolizes the culmination of their partnership. The mansion, once a symbol of Adnan's ego, now represents their shared vision, elegance, influence, and purpose tempered by moral responsibility. As they walk through the preparations together, the contrast between the man who once married on a bet and the couple they have become is stark. Adnan is no longer solely concerned with appearances or social prestige. He is attentive, humble, and genuinely engaged in Sarah's ideas. The final shock emerges when Sarah reveals the ultimate truth about her intentions. She confesses that from the very beginning, she had orchestrated events with a long-term plan, not to humiliate Adnan, but to challenge him, guide him, and ultimately help him grow into a man capable of genuine love and respect. This revelation stuns everyone, including Adnan. What he thought had been a game of ego and control turns out to be a carefully calculated journey that Sarah had designed. The shock is threefold. He is amazed by her intelligence, humbled by her moral clarity, and inspired by her foresight. Their revelation also impacts the social circle that once gossiped about the bet. Friends, family, and associates are shocked to see that what began as a scandalous wager has resulted in a powerful, balanced, and admirable partnership. Sarah's ability to subtly influence events while maintaining dignity and integrity earns widespread admiration. Adnan's evolution from an arrogant, self-assured man to a humble, respectful partner serves as a testament to her transformative influence. The story closes a loop on the theme that genuine character and emotional intelligence surpass charm, wealth, or social posturing. Emotionally, the conclusion emphasizes reconciliation, love, and mutual respect. Adnan openly acknowledges that he is not the same man who married on a bet. His growth is visible not only in his demeanor but in his actions. He listens more, values Sarah's opinions, and engages as a true partner rather than a domineering husband. Sarah, in turn, embraces the depth of his transformation, realizing that her efforts have borne fruit. Their love is no longer performative. It is real, reciprocal, and grounded in admiration, understanding, and shared values.